Hey, it's Rob Perry here at Paradise Garage, and on today's episode we're going to feature putting in a radiator in the 2003 Jeep TJ. So the other day when I got home, I noticed I was smelling a little bit of coolant, and upon further inspection, what is common with these Jeeps is where the core meets the plastic reservoir through various years of expansion and contraction, it just begins to leak, and you can see it's dripping out right underneath of the top hose. So in today's episode, we're going to get a radiator from Rock Auto. We're going to put some new hoses, some new coolant. We're going to go over coolant technologies. A lot of people are not aware of it, but there's really 4 basic types of antifreeze. So stay tuned and we'll get on this thing. Alright guys, I don't think we're going to need to use the lift for this, but I pulled it in the lift bay just in case. Jeep sits pretty tall, it should be a pretty easy job. I haven't done one of these before, and the Jeep is 17, 18 years old. I think the first steps that we're going to do is we're going to put some penetrant on all the mounting screws and hardware, try to get everything free. I did buy new radiator hoses, upper and lower. Looks like maybe I should have bought some new clamps as well, as these are pretty rusted. But it should be a fairly simple project with immediate gratification. So hang tight, let me switch into some work clothes and we'll get this thing done. For today's video, we're using the Hero 3. And I know for some of you, you probably weren't born yet, but it's an old GoPro. It's a go-to for me. I've made a bunch of videos with it. There's much better technology, much better audio. But for today's simple fun, we're going Hero 3. All right guys, so let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab some gloves, we're gonna grab some penetrant, and we're gonna soak some of these bolts down. I like to use nitrile gloves. I get them from Costco. They're fairly inexpensive. They do a good job. They hold up for a decent amount of time. And of course, they are disposable. With today's world of COVID, they're a little bit difficult to get a hold of, but you can get them. As far as penetrants, I teeter-totter between liquid wrench and also a little bit of, not Gibbs, not liquid. How about some PB Blaster? Good thing it wasn't a snake, it would have bit me. Okay, it looks like we got about 4 mounting bolts that hold the fan shroud assembly on. So we're going to hit a little bit of liquid wrench and PB Blaster on those 4. And then it looks like we got 4 bolts that actually hold the radiator to the core support. Actually 6. And we'll hit those as well. So while that's soaking, I'm going to go ahead and drain the existing coolant out so that we can begin disassembly. Coolant petcock is pretty easy to get a hold of. We're just going to give it a quarter turn here by hand and hope to start to see some antifreeze come out. And bingo. There we go. I believe this system holds about 2.5 gallons, and I am going to flush the system so that we have all new coolant as well as the radiator and hoses. Let's go ahead and pop the radiator cap off, and that's going to let it flow a little bit faster. As you can see, the coolant in here is the Mopar coolant. It is orange in color. So while we're waiting for the antifreeze to drain, let's go ahead and get some tools together and start identifying some sizes. I'm positive it's going to be metric, so we'll grab a selector and some metric sockets, and we'll get to working on that, as well as fire up some of the air tools to make sure that we have everything ready to go. Believe it or not, we've got a 10mm socket holding the fan shroud on, and only a 9mm socket actually holding the radiator to the core support. Doesn't make sense to me, but hey, I didn't invent it. To remove the recovery tank, you just push in on this tab and it's got a slide lock and it just slides straight up. No big deal. It's easiest to just slide the fan shroud back and just leave it hang up against the body of the engine. We won't need to remove that to get the radiator out. Now we're down to the 6 mounting bolts, which are 9mm heads. We also got to undo this vent, which is for the front differential. Make sure we don't harm that. And then of course we got to remove both of the lines. So the new radiator I chose to get is actually from Rock Auto, rockauto.com. I'm no way affiliated or sponsored by them, but I do enjoy buying auto parts from them. I will warn you, when you're buying parts from Rock Auto, make certain that you pay attention to the shipping. They come from different locations and the shipping can be expensive. So make sure you choose warehouses that are grouped together. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I think it'd be very important for us to go ahead and open up the box, make sure that we do have the correct radiator as well as upper and lower hoses. The hoses I chose were AC Delco. I've had good luck with them in the past, and they are molded to shape, which I enjoy. We may have to cut it down just slightly, but it looks like it's going to be pretty good here. This particular radiator was a grand total of $176. And one thing I like about Rock Auto is they always send a friendly decal. This particular decal is an older series 60s Ford truck, and we will put that on our toolbox with our collection of magnets through the years. Let's add one more for good old Rock Auto. I do have a Rock Auto discount code. It's good for a couple months. It saves you 5%, which pretty much covers either the shipping or the sales tax in some states. So look at the bottom and I'll share that Rock Auto discount coupon. When you check out, you put it in, copy and paste how they hear about us, and it will give you a discount. For the Jeep, there are 2 different types of radiators, actually several 2-core and 3-core. I elected to go with 3-core, but there's also one for manual transmission and automatic. The automatic transmission model has transmission coolant lines to help control the temperature of the transmission fluid. We do not have that, so we won't be reviewing that step, but you may. This is a genuine Mopar accessory, part number 5503-7652AA. Comes from Rock Auto. This is the coolant drain reservoir that we talked about. You need to make sure that that is tight and not loose, so that when you pour in your new coolant, it doesn't run on the ground. So this guy here has seen better days. I'm gonna order some new clamps. I don't have any here. I got some older style traditionals, but I'd like to have the right thing put back on. So that's one, and the other one's down here underneath the power steering pump, and we'll get that guy off, and we'll have this radiator out in just a few moments. All right, so as we get the old radiator out, the bottom mounts are ovaled out, so you can just loosen those screws and slide them out. So out with the old, and in a few minutes, in with the new. All right, folks, you can see we got the radiator out, but we got a significant amount of corrosion on this thermostat housing. We're gonna clean that up with some emery cloth and a stainless steel wire brush. See if anything's left of it, make sure it's okay. Now would have been a great time to replace the serpentine belt, but I do not have one, so we'll have to wait for another time for that. You can see this engine's a little bit rusty. It's from Maryland. A lot of salt up here, a lot of corrosion. You know, it just is what it is. You work around it. So we dressed the timing chain feller neck up. We also dressed the water pump side up, and now it's getting ready time to start put things back together. One of the things I like to do is wire wheel the heads of the old hardware down. Go ahead and give them a little bit of a coat of some Rust-Oleum black, just to preserve the head of the bolt for the next guy. And then I throw some Never Sees on the threads so that it's not a fight next go around. All right, we got the new radiator in, we got the fan shroud in. We also elected to install some new hose clamps at this time. Time to throw the reservoir jug for recovery in, and then we're going to add some antifreeze and we'll talk about that. And that just snaps in. We'll put our hose on the barb there. I think I'm going to replace that. A little bit sloppy, but for now we'll let it go. All right, we're at the part here where it's time to add the engine coolant, and if you notice right here on the reservoir, it says engine coolant only, see owner's manual, special coolant required. And that's because Jeep uses what's called a HOAT coolant. HOAT stands for Hybrid Organic Acid Technology. And to my knowledge, there's really only two places to get it. The first is the factory Mopar, but the second is at the local auto parts store made by Zurich. It's the GO5 phosphate-free formula. I prefer to buy it as a concentrate, and you mix it 50-50 with water, and I also prefer to use distilled water because it's less corrosive. A jug of this is 19 bucks. If you buy it pre-mixed, it's $17, but you're only getting 1 gallon for $17, where for 19, once you pre-mix it, 50-50, you're winding up with 2 gallons. So hopefully it saves you a little bit of time. All right, folks, so we got the Jeep done. We got the new radiator in, purring like a kitten. We've tested it for leaks. We don't have any leaks. This is definitely a do-it-yourself project if you have some basic hand tools and some knowledge. I am not a professional mechanic. I don't claim to be. These are methods that I've used over the last 50 years of my life, but I hope you enjoy. Thanks.